Have you ever felt tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix? Not physically exhausted, but emotionally drained. You wake up feeling heavy. Your motivation feels low, and even simple things take effort. This isn't laziness, and it's not a lack of discipline. Psychology shows that this kind of exhaustion often comes from something deeper. It comes from living out of alignment with who you really are. Today, we're going to explore the hidden cost of misalignment, how it quietly drains your energy, how it affects your emotions and your body, and why most people don't notice it until it becomes impossible to ignore. What misalignment really is. Misalignment doesn't mean your life is falling apart. In fact, many people who are misaligned look fine on the outside. They're working, they're functioning, they're meeting expectations, but internally, something feels off. Misalignment happens when your daily life no longer matches your values, needs, or inner truth. You might say yes when you want to say no. Push through when your body is asking for rest. Choose what's expected instead of what feels right. At first, this feels manageable, but psychology shows that inner conflict always has a cost. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are not aligned, your nervous system stays under pressure. And pressure, over time, becomes exhaustion. The energy drain you can't explain. One of the first signs of misalignment is unexplained fatigue. You're not doing more than usual, but everything feels harder. Small tasks drain you. Conversations leave you tired. Even rest doesn't feel refreshing. This happens because your energy is being used in the wrong place. You're spending mental and emotional energy maintaining a version of yourself that doesn't feel true. Psychologically, this creates constant background stress. Your system never fully relaxes, and over time, your energy slowly disappears. Emotional signs of misalignment. Misalignment affects your emotions before it affects your circumstances. You may notice irritability over small things, feeling emotionally flat or numb, losing excitement for things you once enjoyed. This isn't depression in the clinical sense, it's emotional disconnection. Psychology refers to this as a protective response. When inner conflict lasts too long, the mind reduces emotional intensity to protect you. You don't feel deeply sad, but you don't feel deeply alive either. That numbness is not a failure, it's a signal. Always on and never rested. Another major sign of misalignment is feeling like you're always performing. You monitor what you say. You adjust who you are depending on who you're with. You feel relief only when you're alone. This constant self-monitoring keeps your nervous system activated. Psychologically, it's exhausting. When you can't be authentic, your mind never rests. And when your mind never rests, emotional fatigue becomes your baseline. Why success feels empty. Misalignment doesn't disappear with success. In fact, success can make it worse. You reach goals, you achieve milestones, but instead of satisfaction, you feel nothing. This happens when success is driven by pressure instead of purpose. Your brain understands the reward, but your inner self feels disconnected. Over time, this disconnect turns into burnout. Not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing too much of what doesn't align. Body and misalignment. Your body often notices misalignment long before your mind is ready to admit it. You might feel tension in your chest or shoulders without knowing why. Headaches appear more often. Restlessness shows up at night. You feel tired even when you've rested. These sensations are not random. They are feedback. Your body reacts when your daily life no longer supports your emotional and psychological needs. When you ignore your limits, suppress your feelings, or force yourself through situations that don't align with who you are, your body carries the weight. Ignoring these signs doesn't make them disappear. It simply pushes the message deeper, where it turns into chronic stress, fatigue, or emotional shutdown. The real hidden cost. The most dangerous cost of misalignment isn't exhaustion, it's disconnection. Over time, misalignment quietly disconnects you from your intuition. You stop trusting your inner voice. You stop noticing what excites you or drains you. Instead of asking yourself what you want, you start asking what's expected. You manage your life instead of living it. And slowly, without realizing it, your days become something you endure rather than experience. That is the cost most people don't recognize until years have passed. Awareness and realignment. Here's the good news. Misalignment is not a life sentence. It's a signal. The moment you stop seeing emotional drain as a personal failure and start seeing it as information, everything changes. Alignment doesn't require quitting your job or starting over. It begins with awareness, listening to your energy, respecting your limits, making small, honest choices instead of forcing yourself forward. One truthful decision at a time is how alignment begins. If this video resonated with you, it's because part of you already knows something is off. And that awareness is not a problem. It's the beginning. Not pressure, not perfection, just truth.